This video will discuss how we solve quadratics by completing the square. Now, if we're completing the square, that means we're going to be into vertex form. And so if you need a refresher on how to rewrite into vertex form, I would watch the video rewriting quadratics into vertex form. We'll do one together, but then we're going to take things from vertex form to solve them. So first off, we're going to review our solutions. We talk about the word solution. We also have the word x-intercept. We also have the word 0. We also have the word root. All four of these words mean the exact same thing. Okay, we need to be able to recognize if I say find the zeros. Oh, that means the roots. That means the x-intercepts. That means the solutions. Okay, they're all the same. All right, so we're going to solve by completing the square. So we're going to have an equation here. Let's say x squared minus 4x plus 6, okay, equals y. Now, if we're going to solve, we must set our equation equal to 0. Okay, so to solve, set y equal to 0. Now we're going to complete the square. X squared minus 4x plus blank plus 6 minus blank. Okay, c equals negative 4 over 2 squared. So that's going to be negative 2 squared. Negative 2 squared is 0. So we have x minus 2 squared. And then we have plus 6 minus 4 equals 0. X minus 2 squared plus 2 equals 0. So there was a quick review of rewriting into vertex form. Okay? Now I made a mistake when I chose this equation because we will not be able to solve this one yet. We're going to learn how to do this after Thanksgiving because we're going to have a complex number. We'll talk about complex numbers after Thanksgiving. They're really not that complex, but we don't know how to work with them yet. All right, so we're going to look at a few equations in vertex form, and we're going to solve them. So let's start with this one. We have x minus 4 squared minus 9 equals y. Okay, so when we first solve, we must set our equation equal to 0. Okay, set y equal to 0 to solve. Now, we need to get x by itself. So we're not going to mess with this yet. We have to move our 9. So let's go ahead and move our 9, do opposite operations. So we have 9 on the right equals x minus 4 squared. Okay, now this is where we get to some of the tricky part. We have to be thinking here. We have to do the opposite of squaring a number, which is the square root. So we square root the left, we square root the right. So the square root of x minus 4 squared is, that's simple, x minus 4 equals plus or minus 3. Okay, here's y. 3 times 3 equals 9. Negative 3 times negative 3 equals 9. We must have both of those numbers. Now I'm going to write two equations here because I think it's too difficult for me to see plus and minus here. I'm going to think of it as two separate equations. X minus 4 equals 3. X minus 4 equals negative 3. Now we can solve these simple one-step equations. X equals 7 and 1. Okay? Notice how we have two equations here. That means we have two different solutions. That comes into mind with this exponent of 2. If we have an exponent of 2, we have two solutions. In a linear equation, we have an exponent of 1. We have one solution. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and take a look at another example where what I just said is going to be a bit confusing for us, but we're not going to talk too much about this. Okay, so let's say that we have the function, we have x minus, we'll say x plus 10 squared equals y. Okay, so first off, we need that x plus 10 squared to equal 0. So we set y equal to 0 to solve. Now we're going to go ahead and square root. So square root of x plus 10 squared is just x plus 10 equals 0. We can't have plus or minus 0. There's no such thing as negative 0. At least we're not going to talk about negative 0. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and subtract 10. Subtract 10, x equals negative 10. We only have one solution. Okay, that's okay. If our equation equals 0, when we square root it, we will only have one solution. Okay, this is going to come up more. So when we look at graphing our quadratics, this is going to make more sense. We're going to tie everything together when we look at our graphs. Okay, so I got a few questions for you to answer to see how well we understand solving quadratics by taking square roots.